Guys, today I want to talk about Sany versus Yanmar. As you can see, we have a Sany 26U here and we have a VIO 35 here. I understand that these two machines are in different weight classes and different horsepower ratings, but we're just going to talk about what we like about each manufacturer and what we don't like. So right off the bat, one of the things that you notice is paint quality. Both of these machines are roughly the same age, but as you can see on the Yanmar, you can actually see a reflection. It seemed to have held up really well to the sun over the years. If we come over here, the Sany, not so much. It's very rough. It looks like a very thin layer of paint. And one of the things that really stands out is this seat. It doesn't have any scratches on or anything like that. It just started rusting. I don't know that if they use primer on it or not, but shouldn't be like that for a machine that's only 4 years old. Another thing I noticed is that the Sany, well, they use caulk on their welds to try to make them look good. They do that everywhere. As you can see, these transitions are so smooth, there's no way you could weld it that smooth. And you can see it here as well. Now the Yanmar, if we look at their rollover protection, it's a lot beefier, but you could see the actual bead of weld right here. Definitely better quality there. If we come over here, the other thing I want to talk about, one of the positives of the Sanys is their work lights. They have 3 work lights on their machines, 2 on top and 1 here under the boom, which is ideal. That way you have light on each side of the boom so you're not making shadows and things like that. The Yanmar has 1 up there and 1 inside the boom, and they actually were incandescent lights. I did change them over to LEDs now. I upgraded it, but I will say that that's one thing that Sany does better. However, what I do like about the Yanmar is they hide the light inside the boom. This is 1/2-inch steel. That light's pretty well protected. If you come over here, they put the light just on this kind of flimsy piece of metal. I have already had to replace it once because a customer damaged it. It was about $100, so not a big deal. But I don't think you would have that issue with the Yanmar. And while we're here, it brings me up to my next point. Cylinder guards. If you look, Yanmar's got cylinder guards everywhere but the thumb, and I don't believe any of the manufacturers have thumb guards. And why is that important? Well, if you look here, we have some scratches. If it was not for that cylinder guard, those scratches more than likely would be on the chrome of that cylinder. And once that chrome gets scratched like that, it'll start leaking hydraulic fluid. It'll tear the seals inside. And then the only way to really repair it is either replace the cylinder or have the cylinder re-chromed if the scratches aren't that deep. It's about a $2,000 job if you had to replace that cylinder. And with the guards, you really don't have to worry about it. However, on the Sanys, they don't have that. Now, I will say I haven't looked into it to see maybe it's an option where you can get it, but I know that they come standard on the Yanmars. And they also do that on their baby machines. Every machine that they have, from what I understand, in the mini size has the cylinder guards, which is nice. Another thing that I like about the Yanmars is they come standard with quick couplers. You can see that right there. It's a hydraulic coupler. And all you got to do is just pull this pin, and inside there's a lever that you hit, and it'll allow these 2 arms to come together and unhook from these pins, and you could just swap out buckets, and that comes standard. In the Sany, you do have to get that option. Now my machine, somebody already put a tag quick coupler on it, which is nice, but that would be an additional option. Probably cost you about $1,000. And now we're gonna hop on this machine, and I feel like this is where the Sany lacks the most, is in its drivability. So what I'm going to try to do is show you how difficult it is to try to do just a small turn without tearing up the customer's yard or whatever it is that you're doing. Hopefully you can see my hands. I use my feet and the tracks. And we're gonna just go forward with it. And let's say I want to do just a gentle left-hand turn. I'm gonna back up and just do that. And as you can see, the machine pretty much stops. It barely moves. Now if I go full speed ahead, no problem. Same thing in reverse, no problem. See, it's going nicely, but the moment you try to turn just a little bit, it just pretty much stops. And also while we're here, I will say the Sany does have a nice gauge cluster. It's all electronic. There are some features in there that you can go into and control hydraulic flow and things like that. So I will give them that. That is pretty nice. Now we're gonna hop into the Yanmar and do that same drivability test. As you can see, the Yanmar does not have a fancy screen like the Sany, but I guess it does what it's supposed to do. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to start off going forward, and then I'm going to just come back a little bit, and you see it doesn't slow down, it just keeps doing what it's supposed to do. And same thing in reverse. I guess it just definitely responds better. It does exactly what you're telling it to do, which in my opinion is a big deal, especially if you're working around utilities or in tight quarters. Now I do want to mention that I have driven a Sany 35 as well at the dealer, and they both act the same way when it comes to the drivability. I also spoke to another customer of mine who has had a 35, and he told me the same thing. They just don't have the power when it comes to driving. So it's not just unique to the 26. The 3 and 4 ton are both in the same direction. It's almost as if they put a lot of emphasis on the digging and the driving not so much. And it is an excavator, you're mainly going to be digging. However, there are times where maybe you need to backfill a trench, things like that, and that driving becomes important. One other thing I noticed as I was looking at both of these machines is the center of gravity. I'm going to flip this over and show you what I mean. So if you look at this Yanmar, you see how low that is to the ground as far as the house to the track system? And then you come over here, and it's higher. If I had to say, probably a good 4 or 5 inches. Now, it may not seem like a big deal, but the lower you can get that center of gravity, the better off you are, especially if you're working on a slope or anything like that. I will say I do like that the Sany is zero tail, just like the Yanmar. It's a nice feature. That way you don't have to worry about banging up against, trees, things like that. Essentially, if those tracks fit in, then you don't have to worry about the counterweight hitting anything except the boom in the front. So guys, personally for me, I have decided to stick to the Yanmars. The Sany has been a good machine for me. I just don't think it's good for my application. I think it's a great machine for an owner-operator, somebody that's going to be keeping the machine stored inside where maybe that paint fading out isn't that big of a deal. Things like that. You could probably buy one of these machines for 5 to 10 grand less than a comparable Yanmar. So it's nice to save the money. I just don't know if you'll get it back on the resale. One other thing I want to note is the Sany warranty. Now, Sany offers a 5-year, 5,000 hour warranty, which is phenomenal. And what my local dealer does is, if you're within 300 miles round trip from their shop, they will do the warranty claim free of charge. So there's no traveling costs or anything like that. And also I wanted to mention that I've seen this online that they say, oh, if a Sany gets bought at an auction, the warranty is voided. I looked into that a little bit, and right on Sany's website, it says that they used to do that. They no longer do that for machines that are being bought in North America. However, there has to be service history. If there's no service history, then they will void the warranty. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to buy one off of Facebook Marketplace. Try to get some more information if you're really counting on that warranty. And that is a great warranty. 5 years, 5,000 hours is phenomenal. And also I will note that they do that for rental companies. Most manufacturers, they exclude the rental companies in those warranties, or it's only like a 6-month or a year warranty. Sany does not do that, which, you know, they're working hard to stand behind their product, and I admire that. So that's that. If you have any questions, please comment. Love to answer anything I can help you with.